Welcome back to the channel. This is Red Dirt Resale, and in this video we're going to talk about another outlet for you to sell your merchandise in the resale world. And what we're going to talk about is booths, renting booth space, whether that be an antique mall or a thrift mall, a consignment store of some type that rents booth space to a vendor. Basically what that is they give you an allotted amount of space, a block of space, or even a shelf, or whatever the case is, a display cabinet, and you pay them monthly rent for that space. You put your stuff in there and tag it, and then they sell the stuff, they pay the power bill, they have somebody man the register, they collect the taxes, all that kind of stuff, and then they usually take a percentage, 10% or whatever the case is, to sell your stuff. So it's basically like you have your own small store in somebody else's store without having all of the headache that comes with running a business. So it's a good thing for somebody that's just doing it part-time, somebody that's just starting out, or somebody that kind of wants to experiment in different areas, maybe kind of get their feet wet and dabble and see if a store's for them. But I'm going to kind of give some tips, and I'm in a unique position here. I know a little bit about, renting booths and everything and being successful in the behind the scenes because of the fact that we started out years ago, me and my wife, when we first started in the resale business, we rented booths at a thrift store that had booths. And now for several years now, our thrift store, we rent booth space. So I'm able to see behind the scenes. I see exactly what every single booth in the whole store makes. I see what their rent is, I see what they make, and I see who does what. And so I see this person does this, and this is the results they get. This person does this, and this is the results they get. So I'm able to really, have my finger on the pulse of what makes a booth work and what makes it not work. Like I said, it's common, in the past, antique malls, they had booths, but there's a lot of, thrift stores in different places now that have booths that you don't have to sell antique stuff. You can sell everyday regular stuff. Our store, you can sell anything and everything, from brand new stuff to old stuff to you name it, furniture to little stuff, anything that you want to sell, you can sell it in our store in your allotted space. There's a couple different ways that you can be successful, doing a booth. Going back to, like I said, years ago, we had booth space. What we did is we were getting all of our stuff out of storage units. So we had two booths that were combined into one big space, and we put basically anything that we would look at, and we would think that it should be priced at like $1 to about $5, $6, $7. We would put in that booth, but we would put $1 on everything, and we called it the dollar corner because the booth was kind of in a corner, and we were selling on volume there. We just put dollar on everything. You know, a lot of stuff that was pretty good stuff that a lot of people would have put 5, maybe even 10 or more. I've seen people put on similar items. We put $1 on it, and we blew it out, and we did really good. We sold a lot of stuff. I mean, people would, you know, as soon as we came in with stuff, people would go running up there, the ladies that work there, and they'd have, you know, those little baskets you carry, and people would fill them things up with our stuff, and we did really well. And then we had another booth that was like everything that was $10 or more, you know, priced, we had in that booth. So we did really good on selling volume, but we were getting this stuff really cheap. So that's the thing, if you're gonna sell high volume, you have to sell high volume, you have to sell it really cheap, but you have to be getting it cheap or it's not going to make any sense. So, you know, that's the key. If you don't have a source to get the stuff cheap, then it's not going to work. But storage units, it's a good deal. But if you're out picking, you know, going to yard sales and picking and doing stuff like that, estate sales, and trying to, you know, take it from that, you know, avenue and put it into a thrift store or whatever, you're probably not going to be able to do the high volume thing. You're going to have to price this stuff a little bit more. But the key is, okay, say if your rent is $100 a month, then you want to have at least one item in your booth at all times that'll pay the whole rent for the month, that you might sell at any time. So at least one item that's worth $100 or more. You need several items that are worth, you know, chunks like at $25 to $50. So if you sell a couple of them, you may rent. You don't want to have everything being like on average $2 or $3, unless you have a ton of it and it's stuff that you're going to sell in high volume, and you know, you just know you're going to be able to sell that volume, because it gets really tough. For instance, if you had a booth and you sold, you know, 100 items that week, and you averaged $2 a piece, obviously that's going to be $200. But if you had a booth and your average item was $25, you only have to sell 8 items to get to the same amount. 8 versus 100, that's a huge difference in the volume. So if you're gonna, you know, if it's gonna be high volume, very, very cheap is the way you gotta do it. And normally the best thing to do is have it all like one uniform, like everything $1, everything $2, or everything two. There's a guy in our store now, he has everything in his booth. It's 2 for $3, 3 for $5. He sells a lot of volume in those booths because it's really cheap and it's clear cut and it's easy to, easy for people to catch on and easy to advertise. But if your booth's not going to be a high volume kind of all set price, like I said, you want to have those couple big ticket items. You can have plenty of items that are $1, $2, $3, you know, because they do add up. But you want to have those bigger chunks of money that, you know, could come in at any time. Some weeks you might might not sell any of those big chunks. But if you have a week where you sell one of the, you know, a big chunk item for $100, you make your rent plus all your other little stuff adds up to $200, then you've already made your rent plus some in 1 week. And, you know, obviously most month there's going to be 3 more weeks. And at that point, everything you sell, it's not profit necessarily, but you paid the rent. You're not paying rent anymore at that point. So that's the key, is to try to pay your rent in 1 week and to try to have at least one item that's going to pay the whole entire thing all at once if you happen to sell it. You might not sell it, it depends on what it is, but you at least want to have that opportunity. If you're not going to be high volume, if you're not going to have a lot of stuff, $2, $3, another way to do it I've seen work for people is if they just have a lot of big ticket items. They don't sell very much necessarily, but they only have to sell a few things. If you're gonna have big ticket items, though, they can't be really weird stuff, or your sales might be so slow it just doesn't, cut paying the rent and everything. It's got to be, you want stuff that people need, like a really nice pot and pan set, really nice small appliance, nice furniture, accent furniture. People do really good selling nice tennis shoes and nice purses and that kind of thing. I mean, there's a million things you can sell, tools, whatever the case is. Musical instruments do really good, guitars and all that kind of stuff. That stuff does really good. You just gotta, play with it, and you just gotta make sure that it's desirable stuff. I mean, that's common sense, but You know, like they say, common sense isn't that common. Another thing you can do is you can have a themed booth, meaning everything kind of fits a certain theme. Not literally like one, you know, everything's Batman, but if you did everything in your booth, superhero type stuff, you know, nerd type stuff, we actually have a booth like that. It's all superhero stuff and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff, sci-fi type stuff. It's all in one spot and it does really well. We have another guy, he has a booth, it's called the Rat Hole. His stuff, he has a lot of vintage and antique, but just kind of unique stuff, a lot of man stuff. He just has a really good eye for odd stuff. He's been doing it a long time, and he does really well every single week, very consistent. And another thing that really helps, obviously, going back to the word that I just said, you have to be consistent. You have to come in every week and bring new merchandise, move your merchandise around, you know, rearrange it, take stuff that's down on the bottom that's been there a while, put it up at a, you know, more visible, and it just kind of changes the look of your booth, and it makes people feel like it's new, even if maybe it's not a whole lot of new stuff, but you do want to constantly be bringing in new items. And also you want to be an active markdowner, meaning if you have $100 an item and it's been there for, you know, 2 months, knock it down, even if it's just to $90, and put one guy that does really well, like I'm talking about, the guy that has the Rat Hole, he makes a big old like hot pink sign that says sell or reduced or clearance. And if it's item's $100 and he puts $90, he sticks it right on that tag, then people know it's for sale, and it kind of creates that, you know, that urgency that they need to buy it because it's on sale, somebody else might buy it, and also they're trying to get rid of it, so they might go lower, and, you know, I better get it now because I might not be here the day they go lower and somebody else gets it, and this is, you know, an item that I want. So, like I said, he creates that urgency, but this guy is really good. He's consistent on showing up, keeping his booth stocked, moving it around, and also being an active, you know, markdowner. And like I said, his booth kind of has a theme. It's all kind of vintage and antique, but kind of that unique twist of oddities and man stuff. So that's just a few tips. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You know, as far as I've seen a lot of different people have, you know, different ways they do it and they were successful. And I've seen a lot of people that weren't successful at all. But the biggest thing is the people that aren't successful are typically people that just, they're not consistent in coming. They'll disappear for a month, literally not bring anything new for a month, and their sales dwindle down, and, you know, they just don't do good. But most people that at least, at a bare minimum, at least come and keep their booth stocked do pretty good. And then from there on out, there's other things like having the right mix of merchandise, you know, your pricing and all that kind of stuff. But just a few tips on, you know, on doing a booth at a consignment store, thrift store, antique mall, and that's pretty much it. But if you have any questions, put them down in the comments. I'd be glad to answer them. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, and if you haven't already, you want to see more videos like this, and of course all the storage units that we buy and we dig through, then hit that subscribe button. You'll have a good one.